Hello, all. I just wanted to take a moment to talk about revision for a second. This is for the creative writing CRW 140 course for short story writing. And I just wanted to communicate with you kind of like the heart behind the revision project. So, you wrote a story for this class at the beginning of the semester. And so you wrote the story and then you forgot about it. Although, let's be real, you probably didn't forget about it, but you didn't do anything with it for a little while. And then at the midterm point, we did critique groups, right? Then the next step is we talk about revision like the week or so after critique groups, because it's really important to talk about a couple of things. First of all, don't rush into revision. It's really important that the revision process is organic. It's really natural once you're in a critique group, and especially for people who care a lot what other people think of their writing, or at least people who are super vulnerable and aren't sure if what you wrote was good or not. It's really natural to rush into your revision and to write something that's reactive. Please don't. We want your revision to be organic. We want your revision to be what the story should be or what you pictured the story would be, rather than what somebody else thinks it should be. Now, somebody could have given you advice on it, and you feel in your soul, in your heart, like, oh, you're right. Like, I probably could have done that better. Now, that would be organic, right? And that's why we do the critique process, is because sometimes somebody sees something in your project that you didn't see yourself. Right. So in that way, it's really valuable to have a critique group, because you're like, oh my gosh, you're right. I didn't realize that dialogue was so unrealistic. I didn't realize that while I was in dialogue between my characters, they use each other's name like every other line, right? And so it's really nice to be able to have somebody in your critique group who's willing to tell you the truth about your story and how it reads. So if you feel something deeply from your critique group, if something is stuck with you and you're like, oh yeah, you're right, well, that is part of what the revision process will entail. I would like you to approach revision slowly, right? Approaching revision slowly does not mean working on your revision like the second that you can, right? Approaching revision slowly also does not mean blowing it off for a couple of weeks and then writing your revision super fast the night before because it's due, right? Approaching your revision slowly means coming at it from the same creative mindset that you wrote your first draft. And when you approach your revision, I actually want you, as much as you can, to not look at your first story draft. I want you to sit down. I want you to try and rewrite the scene to the best of your memory, while also listening to the advice of your critique groups. But also, like, if you read the first draft first and then you revise, then the natural inclination is to want to rewrite what you wrote blow for blow. If you don't reread it first and then you revise it, then what happens is you can picture it for what it is, for its creativity, for its uniqueness. And so it's really important in that context to be able to remember the scenes that are important. And if you forgot something, it probably should remain forgotten. Right. It doesn't mean it was bad. It just means that you didn't remember it for the next draft. So it's okay to leave it in the dust. Right. So you're writing it with the idea that this next draft is the next best version of the scene. Revision should be approached with a kind of grace, with patience, right? Because what you're writing is a version of what you told before, but it's like version 2.0, right? You're picturing the scene happening in a different way. It's okay to give characters a different setting. It's okay to pick a different viewpoint character who's talking, but ultimately the idea is you are completely rewriting the draft. So when you turn in your revision, I do not want to see that you've just line edited here and there, right? I would like to see that your draft is like 85% completely rewritten. 15% copy and paste from here and there is okay, but the vast majority of it should be rewritten. So I hope this has been good. A way to kind of visualize what revision looks like for a writer in the real world is that A writer in the real world will put a draft away for sometimes 6 months, sometimes a year, and then when they return to it, life has gotten in the way. So they're naturally forgetting significant parts of the story. And so in that case, you might want to reread a little bit of it, let it marinate, and then you can come back and rewrite portions of it after maybe you've reread it, let it set for a week, and then come back to it. Writers in the real world still need to revise and vastly rewrite, just like students do in a creative writing class. So I hope this has been helpful for you. It's kind of, I want to share with you kind of the heart behind the assignment, and to also like why we do this in a class as much as it mimics what writing in the real world looks like outside of a class. So if you have questions, of course, on your assignment, be sure to email me and let me know. Have a good day.